Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live show. We are so excited to have you here with us. So, today we have a wonderful show planned for you. We are going to have a featured song by named Tobias. Tobias comes from Toronto. He is an artist that loves to play. Hopeful and inspirational songs. So we hope you will enjoy his song. We also have with us today David Fisher. He is a public speaker and professional coach. You know, you're in for a treat with this one, so please stay tuned. And we also have a giveaway for you today. The giveaway is from Leonica Cosmetics, and it is a jar of wonderful body butter. So stay tuned also for that. Before we get into the live with David Fisher, we are going to play Name Tobias's song, Believe It. Enjoy.
To me, I have no patience for anybody that's none at all. It's too hard out here. You know what I'm saying? If my people don't stand up for me, who is?
It's real now. I'm in the field now. OT back in town, reminiscent of a circus. See clowns. It's all love now. City got a buzz now. Do what they must to draw crowds. Let the light shine, make the king proud. Focused, oh my goodness, I felt I was hopeless. Broken, same time broke, felt I wasn't chosen. Jimmy ooped the beat and it reversed the motive. Life found the post in the book, yes I do promote it. Hey, holy scripture, Lord, help me paint the picture. Ghost got my journey 401 through traffic. VO to the kill strip, that's where I learned my actions. I bumped around the 6 for different circumstances. In the space among the stars, considered galactic. Far from average, near the sun glow, cause he the craftsman. My God is able, look what he did in Egypt. Leading the lost to freedom, cause the world be scheming. See it to believe it. Oh no, dream it, we achieve it. For sure, it's all set in motion. Oh no, oh they better believe it. To believe it. Oh no, dream it, we achieve it. For sure, it's all set in motion. Oh no, oh they better believe it. Let's go. Stuck up in a place, never thought that I would ever see his grace. Caught up in a moment, tears shedding, so I exercise my faith. We all got goals, we trying to meet. You know, certain levels we trying to reach. Dig it, pray that owe me rest in peace. Rest in peace. Vision, pray through me a king they see. Go get it, man, the grind will never cease. Never cease. Sky the limit, so I do it B.I.G. Feeling like the close ones, praying for the worst. While they party next door, we over here putting in work. Red dew on the first, skip school, finish the verse. Black magic on the beat, and I ain't talking about a curse. Death to the old me, prepare for the hearse. All black in attendance, like the lights not present. Spitting double XL, brand new. I'm a freshman now. Turner with a vision from God. This the rebellion, let's go. See it to believe it. Oh no, dream it, we achieve it. For sure, it's all set in motion. Oh no, oh they better believe it. To believe it. Oh no, dream it, we achieve it. For sure, it's all set in motion. Oh no, oh they better believe it. Let's go. See it to believe it. Dream it, we achieve it. It's all set in motion.
Measure a man by his actions fully, from the beginning to the end. Don't take a piece out of my life or a song out of my music and say this is what I'm about, because you know better than that. And if you take me out the game, you're not going to want to see the next one. Trust me, take me out the game, you're not going to want to see this next dude, because he ain't going to have no compassion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, that song was so great. Very inspirational. Loved, the message that Tobias had to share with us. Again, named Tobias, and you can check him out on Spotify. Just type in named Tobias and you can find him. You can also find him on Instagram at named Tobias as well. Thank you again for joining us. So we want to get into the giveaway at this point, just to let you know what that giveaway is. So it is a body butter and it is from Leonica Cosmetics. Now, how can you qualify for this giveaway? So all you need to do is tune in to our YouTube Live and subscribe to the Meta Transitions YouTube channel. Now, if you are watching us and you have not subscribed to the channel, please go hit that subscribe button, okay? All right. So the next thing you need to do is comment on our live show. We would love to hear from you. So comment with your Instagram handle if you have one. Tell us what you liked about the show, right? So if you're watching and you're going to watch to the end, please tell us what you liked about our show. So put your name, your Instagram handle, and tell us what you liked about the show. Last thing we want you to do, again, if you are on Instagram, go and follow us. So follow at metacounseling_, follow at Leonica Cosmetics, at named Tobias, and at davidfish.ca. Now, we will be reminding you of the giveaway towards the end of the show, so you'll have some time to do all of this before the show is ended. Now, if you have an Instagram account, we will be announcing the winner on the Instagram account. So we will announce who the winner is, and we will contact you on Instagram after the show. Thank you again for tuning in. Today we have with us David Fisher. David is a leadership and public speaking coach, and he is here today to share some of his knowledge with us. You are in for a treat because today David is taking over our live and he's going to be doing something really cool. He's going to be teaching me how to tell stories. Okay, David, take it away.
Hey, Trisha K, thank you so much for being here. Always enjoy chatting with you. And boy, taking over, that's a really strong word. There's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders since I'm taking over, but I'm looking forward to it. Just very quickly, just so people know that I'm not just some person that you dragged off the street to do this. So one of the things, even though I'm a speaker, it's still really weird to talk about myself. But in 8th grade, I started speaking kind of accidentally as an extra credit for a communications class. I won a speech contest. And then I got into acting, and so I did years of acting. I got into the Screen Actors Guild, did a bunch of stage theater, but always kept public speaking. And for the last 6 or so years, I have been public speaking internationally and have started coaching public speakers as well. I've coached speakers who are already professional speakers, and I've also coached people who are completely afraid of public speaking, never done it before. And I find as much thrill in coaching people as I do with getting up on stage. Or lately, obviously, in 2020 and 2021, so far, it's going to be more things like this on camera. And I incorporate a lot of my experience in camera acting as well as stage acting also into public speaking or speaking on camera as we're doing now. So I'm really excited to pick Trisha K apart and rebuild her, but in a really kind, nice way. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, David. Like, I appreciate that. And I put my faith in your hands. You know, my speaking and my storytelling abilities are in your hands today. Okay. So
Okay.
What would you like me to do?
All right, good. Well, I did tell Trisha K to come up with a story, but not to memorize it, because we don't want it completely word for word memorized, because it's the best time to work on something is when you're really familiar with it, but it's not memorized word for word, because the brain is still pliable. We don't have to uneducate somebody from memorizing something a certain way and then being like, that way doesn't work. So now we have to sort of retrain the brain to do it a completely different way. way. So if you're in that sort of that working phase, but not in the writing phase, or you don't really know what you're going to say next, but you're kind of in that in between, that's a really good place to go, let's explore here. What's going to work? What's going to sound good, not only my words, but in my delivery. And it's not going to be perfect because you continue to work it and continue to work it and continue to get familiar with it. But then as you do that, then you come out with something that can be really impactful for an audience. So there's a tiny bit of prep, but not too much prep for Trisha K. And I'm going to have her kick it off. And we're going to do this in 2 or 3 quick phases, depending on time. There can be sort of a bonus third phase, but we don't really necessarily have to do that one because I think everybody's going to get the idea. First thing I want to do is hear Trisha K's story straight through because I want to get context of what it is. Second time we go through it is I will be stopping her when I think there's something that can be improved upon, but maybe it's really good the way it is, but there's an idea to try something different. Working with professional speakers, sometimes their speaking is amazing already, but there's something, a different way you can say it, a pause you can put in, an inflection, a stage gesture, tweaking the way you say something maybe a little bit differently can be more impactful. And now you're just playing with something because it's already really good. Now you're just seeing if you catch an aha moment that maybe you didn't see, but the coach maybe saw. So it'll be a stop and go kind of thing. And then we'll go through it again and I'll take notes about maybe what may have been missed or fell through those cracks. Generally, each of these sessions, the stop and go and then the taking notes, is done several times in each session, and then there's multiple sessions. So we're kind of fast tracking this, but Trisha K is brilliant. She'll do just fine. So we can begin whenever you're ready. I just want to hear your story, Trisha K, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. All right. So my story. I've done the Sun Run a few times, about 3 times now, and each time has been really different. So I, went out on the Sun Run. I was really excited to do the Sun Run, and I went with friends. I had lots of people who were there to encourage me, and it was great. It was great the first time, and the next time it was just really, I don't know, discouraging because I didn't have as many people there, and I wasn't training well, and I got through it. It ended, but for some reason there wasn't as much enthusiasm as the first time, and the last time it was total disaster. It didn't work out. I was flustered. I was out of breath. Like friends. One friend that was there this time around, was basically trying to help me to get to the finish line, really trying to encourage me, but it was just for naught. And they basically, said, let's just walk. And we decided to walk. And that's how we ended the race walking, really. And, I felt really bad at the end of it that I wasn't able to finish the race the way that I wanted to. So that's my little story.
Wow. So do I feel that? We all felt that, right? Like that's one of the powerful things that was really good with this, Trisha K, was you let us into your feelings. You were vulnerable. And that's really hard sometimes to stand up in front of people or in front of an audience and be vulnerable and talk about failure or talk about mistakes or talk about things that didn't go as well. We always want to talk about how great we are and the achievements we made and things we can brag about to have other people go, "Ooh, you're so amazing." But in reality, what connects the audience is the feelings that we have. Now, maybe not all of us have run the Sun Run. Maybe some of us don't know what the Sun Run is, depending on where you're at. It's a 10K race in Vancouver, and I've ran it before, and especially that last leg of it is a bear. Like, it's hard. And so, if you're familiar with it, you know that feeling. So maybe we're not runners, but all of us know the feeling of discouragement. All of us know the feeling of something where we kind of hit that literal wall where we go, I don't know if I can make it. And so one of the things that Trisha, you did really well was you were vulnerable with your feelings and you led us on a story. There was a beginning, there was a middle, and an end. And so those things you can carry with you and say, I've got this, because you've got the core already. Like, it's already there. We're not building from scratch. We've already got the construct, or we've got the frame of the house. Now we've just got to fill it up with some beautiful things and put some interior decorating in it and all of that. So what I want you to do first is think. One thing is, what do you want the audience to learn from this story? And take a second and just think about it. And if I were to ask you, which I will do, hint, hint, if I were to ask you in 10 seconds, what do you want the audience to know from this story? And you could only tell me in 1 or 2 sentences what you want the audience to know, what would that be?
I think I want them to know that it's important to be prepared for a race. If you're going to run a race, it's important to be prepared.
I think that's excellent. And I would even challenge you to take that even bigger, to say it's important to be prepared for a race, but it's also be important prepared for anything, an interview, the race of life, whatever it is. You can expand that even more, because what you're going to do is, if you say the importance of being prepared, maybe I'm not a runner, but maybe I'm a golfer, or maybe I'm a gamer, or maybe I'm an accountant, anything. Maybe I'm looking for a job. Maybe I'm trying to fill out school applications, like anything like that at all. So if you say be prepared to run, then what happens is you're only speaking to runners. Now, if your audience is only runners, that's great. You can get as specific as you want. But if you're sharing something like on YouTube or in a general audience, then you want to be able to talk about the importance of being prepared. So there's seasons to be very specific. If you're going to a marketing conference, you talk about things pertaining to marketing. But if you're talking to a general audience of people who just want to better their lives, then maybe you branch and open that a little bit more. But preparation is definitely the key. Second thing I want you to do is to close your eyes, and I want you to put yourself into those races before the gun goes off and you start running, because I'm guessing it before every single race you were excited, you were ready to go, and so you still have that feeling, that energy of like, oh my gosh, we're ready to go. So I'm going to be quiet for about 10 seconds this time, and we're just going to watch Trisha K with her eyes closed put herself in that moment. And if the audience is watching, close your eyes and put yourself in a moment like that too, that's similar, that anticipation moment. I'll be quiet now. Okay, now I've lowered my voice because I want Trisha K to stay in that moment of that anticipation. But what I'm going to challenge her to do is, I feel like I'm on a reality show and I'm like popping in and saying, now what they're going to do is find the secret treasure. But what I'm going to challenge her to do is open her story with the purpose of the story about preparation, to give us a tiny bit of hint of why we should be listening to this story. Her story is captivating enough that we're going to listen to it, but now we know what we're supposed to learn from it. And then challenge her at the very end to remind us of what that purpose is. It's a little bit of intro and conclusion, and we could spend weeks on intros and conclusions, but we'll just do that for now. So whenever you're ready, Trisha K, start with that purpose, and then as you tell the story, remember the feeling that you have right now before you start the race. Take us through the emotions of every single race that you go through. Now, as she does this, I will be stopping her and then giving advice or recommendations or ideas, and then going again. Now, that can sometimes break the flow. It's supposed to be messy. This is supposed to be a little bit weird and ugly. And there may be, she may be like, oh my gosh, wait, I don't remember what I need to say now. What was I saying? Where was I at? You know, you just, you might laugh, right? It's okay. Like any of those things are perfect and it's totally fine. I also acknowledge anytime I work one-on-one with a speaker, it's weird when you're giving a speech and there's only one person in the audience. And in this case, we're even on video, but it is weird because you're training yourself to give a speech to multiple people in an audience. In this case, of course, it will go to multiple people because she's being super vulnerable for this to send this out there to the world. But we do acknowledge it's a little strange to give a speech when there's only one person really kind of listening. So whenever you're ready, you can take a deep breath, tell us the purpose, take us to that story, but be prepared for me to stop you on occasion.
Okay. All right. So today I will be telling you a story about being prepared. Now, the story begins with me being really excited about the Sun Run. So I was at the starting line.
Stop really quick.
Okay.
That's okay. Just a little point. We're not going to cover content too much, but one of the things that a speaker wants to do is make sure the audience understands everything. So you may want to include a quick sentence in there about the Sun Run. The Sun Run is a 10K in Vancouver or something, for those of you who don't know. That way people aren't going, you should say, Sun Run? Is she running to the sun? Like, what are we doing? Right? We'll figure it out eventually as you tell the story, but just kind of fill that gap in there. And then after you say the Sun Run is a 10K in Vancouver, right before you start talking about your, or really right around wherever it feels comfortable, I should say, when you're talking about the excitement to start, put a little pause in there before you jump us into the story. It's kind of like the opening credits of a scene. And then there's a moment of people, most of the time, not talking right away. Usually there's a setting, there's like a wide angle camera view of maybe sort of where things are at. And then you drill down into a particular person or character. So allow that pause to happen when you go from that part right before you're ready to tell us the story, if that makes sense. And you can start. Again, she's not going to start over every single time we're in the speech, but in this case, at the very beginning. So let's just start from the beginning.
Okay. All right. Okay. So today I will be telling you a story about the importance of being prepared. Now, I have run the Sun Run, and the Sun Run is a 10K race in Vancouver. So this is the first time I am running the Sun Run, and I can remember being really excited about the race. I was there with a number of my friends from my church, and we were all pumped, ready to run the Sun Run. And as soon as we heard that the gun go off, we were ready to go, and we're out the gate with a mountain of people.
Very good. And I love the smile about being exciting. Your smile or your excitement on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 6. And I know we don't want to go to like a 12 when you're on camera, unless you're like really far away, and we don't want to blow the eardrums off of everybody in your living room. But show that excitement even a little bit more. Like, you don't necessarily have to be louder, but you could do things like, we were really pumped, right? And you had the wonderful smile and talk about being excited. We could see it. Give us a little bit more. Give us that feeling, because when one person's excited, we get excited too. So bring that a little bit higher, from like a 6 to like an 8.5, and then we'll kind of see where that goes.
A little nonverbal.
A little more intensity, maybe a little bit of hand gestures, kind of whatever you do when you get more excited.
Okay.
Go for it.
All
and you don't have to start from the beginning. Just start from the beginning of the story about the first Sun Run.
Okay. All right. So I was there with my friends, and we were both really excited about, the Sun Run. And as, the gun was going off, we just ran through the gate with this group of people. It was just like, it was exhilarating. Like, I've never felt like that before in my life. I felt like I could do the whole thing and I wasn't worried at all about what was going to happen. I was just really excited to be there and, ready to get this race going. I remember like the crowd of us were just there, and at every single mile we were telling each other how important it was, that we prepared for this race, and we were reminding ourselves that we went and trained, and we did all these things. So the race is hard, so at every single turn we were remembering those moments of, drilling down and running those half an hours, after work, and we recognized that it was paying off at that time. And, it was good to have people there that was there cheering us on. It's like, yes, you can do this, let's get to the finish line. And we were able to finish the race. And even though we were tired, there was still that sense of accomplishment that we were able to do it. And we felt really good about this first race. Now the second race was a little different.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I hope you all felt the more energy, the more excitement. And if we had more time, we would go through it again and again and again, so it even gets more natural. It gets more exciting. Because right now, which is fine, it's perfect for kind of a working rehearsal for Trisha K to kind of still find the words. As she goes through that, those words will be found and become much more natural. But for the sake of time, we just know you're going in the right direction, and that's great. Just like running the right direction in a race. And so I would, when you say, well, I'm able to finish, think of that like when you finish that race, think of how you really felt when you cross that finish line and you're like, oh, I did it, right? We want to feel that excitement, really kind of be the build of that excitement. So you could even bring that up even a little bit more, because then what happens is two things happen. One, we feel the excitement of that finish, but now you're giving us a pause before you tell us about the second race. And so again, going from that first moment to the second moment, you want to have a little bit of pause there so the audience can follow that there's a scene change, or there's, if you're giving a speech about the 3 ways to start your morning well, 1, 2, 3, you want to pause between each of those points. If you're telling a story, if there's a scene change, you want to give a pause between that scene change. So more excitement at finish line, bigger pause before you get to the second race. You can start from wherever you're comfortable, but somewhere in that middle of the race where you're really excited, you can kind of start wherever that is.
Okay. All right. So, all my friends are there. We're really excited. We're getting through, at each milestone, and we're reminding each other of how important it was that we, practiced before the race. And we're recognizing how important it is to, to get through each milestone together. We're really encouraging each other, and telling each other, you can do this, we're going to get to the finish line together. And we're really helping each other out. It was a really good feeling. And when we got to the finish line, we were tired, but it was still so exhilarating. We still felt really accomplished that, we were able to get through the race together, and that it paid off, that we were able to do it together. Okay. So I want to tell you about the second race. So the second time that I did the sun run, this time around, it was a little different. I didn't prepare as much as I did the first time. I half-assed it, if you want to think about it in that way. I basically, sometimes I'd come home and I would, be really tired, and I wouldn't go out and train. But on other days I would, but I wouldn't run as long. And I really felt like I took it for granted, that I did the sun run before, so I'll be able to do it again. And this time around, I didn't have as many people there with me to motivate me and to, cheer me on. But there was still a good group of us, and, we still helped each other out.
Okay. You're doing really good. And I just want you to call. We talked about it a little bit before we came on air. There's some that are creeping in there. Yes. So just make sure. The first one, when you were really excited, there wasn't very many. But now this one, and that's what happens sometimes is when you get really excited and you're really pumped and you're really focused, those filler words tend to go away. But then, and intentionally, a story or the way you're giving a speech, if you're telling a story, should start at some note, and then sort of you reach a struggle and then come back up on the other side again. But sometimes when you're pacing that and you slow things down a little bit during that struggle part, those filler words tend to come in because you talk a little bit slower. The energy can still be there, but maybe it's a little bit quieter. And so those knows, in your case, it's a in my case, it's a so, those words can kind of come in. And I just don't want you to be in the habit of doing that all the time. So I just want you to be aware of it. Your energy and your pace and everything so far is really good. And one of the things that I noticed with Trisha K that she's doing really well naturally is as soon as we talked about what the purpose of her message was, she's throwing the word preparation through each of the story. I was prepared the first time. I was less prepared the second time. She's reminding us of why we're listening. What is the message of Trisha K's story? To be prepared. We had the good example. Now we're getting a little bit of the cautionary tale before we get to the third story, which is the really big sort of disastrous cautionary tale. So good. So just start wherever you're comfortable. Keep going. Just watch the I knows.
Okay. All right. So it's a good group of us, we're in the second race, and recognizing that I'm not as prepared as my friends. They took the time to prepare, but I wasn't as prepared, and I felt like I was dragging them along. I half-assed it, and, I'm feeling really down on myself. So negative thoughts start coming, and I'm like, I can't do this, saying that to myself. And, my friends are telling me, you can do this, but I wasn't believing that I could do it. I continued to go along, right, with the race.
No, very good. There's a really good point for a dialogue that you can do. Again, watch the you knows, but that's a really hard habit to break. Like I can't just say it once and then have her never say you know again, just like me saying so. Like it'll take like her watching this video and going, oh no, I did it again. It's totally fine. I just want you to be aware of it. But I want the audience to know that sometimes when there's a habit, it's not easily fixed. The habit's going to take work to be able to get rid of that habit. The gesture, the same gesture over and over again, or that filler word. Here's a really good point to put in a little bit of a dialogue where you're like, I can't go on. Yes, you can. No, I can't. However you want to kind of phrase that is fine. And a little trick ahead of time to tell you, and you can even do this on camera, but is if you're talking, maybe you're talking to your friend, you're looking this way, and then your friend is saying, no, no, you can do it, then you look this way. And so we can distinguish, the audience can distinguish, are you talking or are you your friend talking? Are you quoting your friend? So you have a dialogue saying, oh, I just can't do this. Yes, you can do it. Come on, keep going. No, I'm really tired. Can I just go home? No, you can't go home. Come on. And so now the audience gets to see the play with that a little bit. So take us right from that beginning where you're talking about your friends trying encouraging you, but you can't do it. Take us through a little bit of that dialogue so we get a taste of that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're in the second part of the race, and I'm recognizing that I'm not as prepared as my friends. I didn't do all the work that I was supposed to do. I really half-assed it. And, I'm there and the negative thoughts are coming and I'm saying to myself, I can't do this. And my friends are like, come on, you can do this. We're made for this. And I'm like, no, my legs are tired. I can't do this. And they're like, no, come on, you can do this. You can get to the next mile. You can get to the next mile. I know you can. And that's sort of how I got through the race, just constant sort of motivation from people, just saying, you can do this, you can do this. And we got to the end, right? And I felt good that I got to the end, but I also felt that guilt deep inside, saying, you should have prepared, that said, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I felt that in the pit of my stomach. And I was like, you know what, next time, hopefully I will prepare. Unfortunately, that did not happen the last time I did the sun run. And this is the third time.
Yeah, okay. Really good. 2 quick notes. Number one, you could, this is just a little idea you could throw in, is something where you could say something about, I kind of felt guilty because my friends had prepared and I didn't, and I felt like maybe I was holding them back. So there is a little point of context you could just drop in there. If the audience doesn't hear it, they'll never know, but it is something you could add where the audience is like, oh, preparation. Yeah, it's not just about me. It's about those around me. If I'm leading a team and I'm not prepared, my whole team suffers, not just me, right? And so that's a real point that we could make to our audience. Then when you go into that third one, make sure and I know you want to keep it like lighthearted and your speech is nice and vulnerable and it's a great story. But when you talk about that third one, it's okay to smile, but make sure the smile doesn't mask the disappointment because we kind of know where we're going with it. And so you can kind of smile at the beginning, like the third one, oh, that was really bad. But as you start taking us into that story, make sure that smile disappears and we actually feel what you felt when you're going through that race, not just physically exhaustion, but emotionally and mentally. You were like this is hopeless. What am I doing? And we want to feel that. We don't want to have the smile mask that. So I'm kind of giving you a pre-note because you're not there yet, but yes. I just want you to be aware of it. So finish out just the very end of that second race, take us that pause and then take us into that third race.
Okay. All right. So we end the second race and I'm feeling good about it, but there is that guilt, inside that, I didn't prepare, my friends prepared, and I felt like I held them back in the race. I'm thankful that they stayed with me and motivated me to finish. But yeah, I did feel kind of bad that I didn't prepare and they, weren't able to finish in a good time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the third race. The third race was less fortunate in that I did not prepare at all. For some reason, I felt like I could do this, but when I got there, even at the beginning line and the gun was going to go off, I knew in myself that this was not going to be good. There was just this feeling inside that why are you here? You didn't prepare at all. Maybe it was the excitement of everybody saying, I'm going to do the sun run. Let's go. Let's do this. And there was only one friend there this time. There wasn't as many people. So there wasn't as much motivation to do it, right? And I remember just having this dialogue with myself this time, just saying, you shouldn't be here, Trisha. You shouldn't be here. But the gun went off and we started the race and I started running. And I think I got to 1 kilometer and I was just like, I can't do this to myself. And then I said it aloud to my friend, I can't do this. And she looked at me and she was like, I can see that you're really tired. And I said to her, yeah, I'm exhausted. And it was only 1 kilometer, guys. It's a 10K race. And she said, you know what? It's okay. Let's walk. And I was so thankful that she said, let's walk, but again, sort of feeling guilty about it. And, you know, we did the walk. We walked most of the way. We stopped sometimes because, again, I was really tired. And then we continued walking until we got to the end. I was completely exhausted, like completely exhausted. And, you know, she was grateful. She got me water, she got me food, but, you know, there's still that sense of, I should have prepared for this race. And I think that that's really what my story is about. The idea of being prepared, because being prepared, you can put your best foot forward in whatever it is that you're going to do.
Okay, stop. Very good. Okay, nice. Energy level dropped, which is good. I mean, like the energy was there, the intensity was there, but the feeling was different. And I'm sure all of us could see the difference between the first race and the third race and how it was delivered, how it was presented. And as a quick aside, we don't have to do this with Trisha K, but sometimes if you're telling a story on video and I'm a little bit close even for this, but to be back far enough where you could show hands. And then that way, when you're really excited, you can see the hand. They don't have to be big like you're on stage, but you can show little hand gestures and you could be like, oh, I was so exhausted, right? You can do little things like that. Don't have to, but there is something where the human mind is attracted to movement. So if we have some gestures, that keeps our attention. They did a study as TED Talks and what are the most popular, even among same topics. And the most popular ones were the ones that had the most hand gestures because psychologically we're attracted to that. Now, we didn't really cover that just because of the setup and everything like that, but it is something to be aware of in the future for anybody who's telling a story, even on video, make sure that there's hand gestures that are kind of included. Now, the idea now of this is to bring that and it's tricky because the speech is like really excited, less excited, not excited at all. But then you want to bring us out on a happy note. And that's the hard part when your story is going one direction as a cautionary tale. We don't want all the leaves to be going like, man, I'm so down. I know I need to repair, but I don't really feel like it now. And so the idea then is to have that transition. And it has to be kind of a quick one. The way the story is given is for Trisha K to finish that third race, but then kind of and you really have to kind of take a big pause there and say, here's, and so I really wasn't happy with the race. Here's what I want to tell you guys, right? And then start to bring us back up again. And you have to bring us back up again pretty quickly. But now your goal at the very end is to motivate and encourage and inspire us to be prepared with whatever it is we want to do with our future. So it's got to be a quick change, but it can be a really good one. So so take us from wherever you feel comfortable kind of toward the end of that race and then transition us back up into sort of that conclusion.
Okay. All right. So we're heading towards the finish line now, walking the whole way, and I'm feeling really bad about the situation. And my friend, is there, and I'm thinking to myself, I should have prepared for this. I'm feeling that I didn't. I basically dragged her along, just walking to this finish line, and there was definitely that sense of not feeling accomplished at all, not feeling good about the race. And I was really tired and thankful that she brought me beverages and food and all of that so I would feel better, but definitely feeling like, I should have been prepared for this race. All right. So now that you heard the 3 different stories, I want you to take something away from what I shared. You heard that I was really excited. You heard that, I didn't prepare as well. And then the third time, you heard that I didn't prepare at all. And I want to make sure that you recognize that it's really important for you to take the time to prepare, because preparing is going to help you to face whatever it is you have coming to you. I hope that this was something that you can take away from what I shared today.
Nice.
Was that better?
That was awesome. That was really good. You encapsulated everything, and you brought us on the journey, and you left us with something to go, that's right. What was Trisha K's stories about? It was about preparing. You should hear her story, right? And so it was really good. It was simple, and it drove home a point. And that was really excellent. I do want to be cautious of everybody's time. And so I'd love to have you go through it once more, and then have me just leave some quick notes for you as kind of a final one. In the real world, we do another stop and go and another stop and go, and then she could practice for a week, and then we go back, and then we spend a few times going through it with me just taking notes. But do you feel comfortable, and do we have time to kind of go through one more with you, go straight through, and just me leaving some notes?
Yeah, I think that we could do that. So just one straight through, you're listening, and then you can tell me, like, towards the end, what are some last minute things I can think about.
Yep, and then we can wrap up, which is perfect. So whenever you're ready, take some moment to kind of close your eyes and sort of recoup, get yourself back to that starting line and those opening sentences. I know it's not going to sound the same because it wasn't a totally prepared speech. That's okay, no problem with that. But whenever you're ready, then you may begin, and I will not stop you this time at all.
Okay, perfect. All right, whew, deep breath. Okay, so today I am going to tell you a story, and my story has to do with being prepared. So my story is about the Sun Run, and if you don't know, the Sun Run is a 10K race here in Vancouver, BC. Now, I'm going to begin by telling you about the first time I ran the Sun Run. I was super excited. Man, I can tell you, I had all my friends there. We were all really pumped and ready to go for the race. And I remember being at the beginning line, and all my friends were like, yes, it's going to be really good. Let's get it going. And we're sort of just running on spot, just ready, waiting for them to, pull the trigger. And then as they pulled the trigger, we were off running. And that excitement sort of just went throughout the whole journey. We got to 1K and then to 2K, and we stopped, we got refreshments, and we were sort of just encouraging each other, you can do this, let's get to the finish line. And it was really a good experience. We got to the finish line and we were all really accomplished. Yes, we were tired, we were sweating, but it was that good feeling within you that, we were able to train before the race, and we got a sense of preparedness. And that really helped us to be able to get through that experience. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you the second time I did the Sun Run. And the second time I did the Sun Run was a little different. This time around, I didn't prepare as much. Sometimes I would come home from work and I would run maybe for 30 minutes and then I would stop, or sometimes I wouldn't run at all. And it was different. I was just like, maybe I took for granted that I did the Sun Run before, so I don't have to prepare as much. And we are at the starting line this time around. I remember this with some friends, not as many as before. And yeah, we're saying the same thing. Let's run the Sun Run. Let's do this. We're prepared. We're ready to go. And we get out, as soon as the gun goes, and we're running. And we get to 1K, we get to 2K, and I recognize that I'm slowing down a bit. And I feel this sense of, I don't know if I can do this. I'm saying this to myself and I'm saying this to my friends. I don't know if I can do this. And then they're like, come on, you can do this. You prepared for this. Let's do this. And I was like, okay, I'm using their energy and their motivation to get through the rest of the journey. But I can feel within myself that there's that sense of, slowing down and not feeling like I'm prepared as much as I should be. So, as we're getting through it, there's still those negative thoughts that are coming up. And I have to keep reminding myself, you can do this, you can do this. And we get to the finish line. I'm drenched, tired, and my friends are there where they're celebrating, they're excited, but there's that guilty feeling inside, that I felt like I held them back. I felt like they weren't able to finish the race at the time that they planned, because they were just there motivating me along the whole time. So there was definitely that feeling of guilt inside that I held them back. This third time that I ran the sun run, I was not prepared. I will tell you guys, this time around, I didn't do anything. I'm not sure why that's the case, but I just recognized, I think I just was going with the excitement of everybody. I ran the sun run twice, again, this sense of taking it for granted that I can do it again. But this time around, I knew that I wasn't prepared. I knew that it wasn't going to be a good experience. I was at the beginning line again with everybody else. Everybody else was really excited and ready to go. But for some reason, I recognized as they were about to pull the trigger that I'm not prepared. I'm not going to be able to do this. And this is how I'm starting this race. So we start and we're going, and we get to around 1K, and I was just sort of gasping for breath. I was, really tired. Like I was, and I couldn't do it. I stopped. My one friend that was there with me was like, "Are you okay? Can you do this? Are you sure?" And, I said to her, I don't know if I can do this. And she really looked at me and she said, "Okay, maybe we should walk." And I said, maybe that might be a good idea. And then we just walked for the rest of it. We walked 9K of a race that we're supposed to run. And I'm thankful that, she was willing to do that with me. But again, feeling even worse than before, that this person came to run the race and wasn't able to because of me, right? So that sense of guilt again set in, and it reminded me just how important it is, to prepare for a race. And I think that's what I want, everyone to leave, here with. It's important for you to remember that to do anything that you need to do, it's important to prepare, because being prepared then helps you to be able to prepare for anything that you might face. I hope that this story was helpful for you and that you were able to take away that important piece about being prepared.
The audience claps. Well done. Good, nice flow. And really, I was engaged, and I've heard this story several times now, and I was still engaged. I was still interested. You have a very natural way of speaking. Your facial expressions are amazing because they tell a story. If I was on mute, I could still tell that you were engaged in some sort of storytelling. And so those movements you have with your smile and your eyes and all of that is awesome and natural, and it's great. And so it's a very kind and natural delivery, which I really like. And by the way, if there's speaking coaches that are listening, share the good stuff, not just the stuff to work on. And it was full of good stuff. Like I could take more notes on good stuff than I could on bad stuff. But then, of course, we'd never get to the bad stuff. I don't want to say bad stuff to improve upon. So yes. I joke when I say bad stuff, but you know what I mean. And really good excitement and voice inflection at the beginning. And I'm trying to read up my own notes. By the way, I was going to say, with practice, your language will clean up. And I don't mean like bad language. I just mean like sometimes we noticed, and you were still kind of grasping for what the next sentence was sometimes. And once in a while, then those words kind of get repeated, and we're really excited to finish. And, we're encouraging each other because we're really excited to finish. That's not a quote, but some of those little repeats, that's okay, because it's not a memorized completed speech yet. If we were to work on this more and more, all of that would naturally get cleaned up, and it would be a very streamlined story. And so those little kind of moments where you were kind of grasping for words, that goes away with practice. That's totally fine. So for the audience too as well, for those moments, We recognize them. This is like the middle. This is like 50% through a prepared speech. And so another several weeks, all of that would go away, or even, I should say, even just a few lessons, all that can go away. Good build to the finish. You could even make it more. That first one where we finish the line. We finished, we made it. You know, you could even do a hand gesture there. And then a bigger pause. You paused. You could even make a bigger one and before the 1 and 2. The speaker always thinks that a 3-second pause is like a 3-minute pause. But a 3 seconds pause to the audience is still a 3 seconds pause. So I would encourage Trisha K or any speaker, where you find places to pause while you're rehearsing, count the seconds you want that to be a pause. And then it becomes natural later where you're thinking, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to count to 3. And then when you're actually giving a speech, then, you know, whether it's a 3-second or 5-second or whatever you feel comfortable with, then that becomes natural, because when we're actually speaking, that usually gets faster than we want it to be. I don't have to prepare. Oh yeah, I was going to say, one idea you can play with, and again, there's some things that you just play with because it can work, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. But one of the things that Trisha K could do is when you talk about, I don't have to prepare, I've done this before. You can almost say it like you're super prideful and boastful, like, I've done this before. I don't have to do it again. I don't need to prepare. I'm a veteran at this. You just watch me. You just watch my heels. Gonna be so far in front of you, right? So you can actually say it and deliver it like you're an old pro, right? And really make that delivery sound like you're totally prideful, which then adds to sort of the downfall, which is great. When you say you recognize you're slowing down in the race, you had a really nice pause after that. You could even say, and I realized I'm slowing down. Like you could almost say it like you're slowing down. Again, you could play with it. It may work, it may not work, but it's something you could try. When you talk about your friends or feeling guilty about maybe holding back your friends, you could add a little facial expression there where you're like, oh my gosh, I feel guilty because I think I held my friends back. Oh man, right? Like
Almost
you
like
could
a reflection.
Bingo. Yep, you got it. So that's me using many words and you nailing it with one word. That was great. Loved it. A reflection. Yeah, perfect. Good pause before number 3. Good slower, different energy. You could even add for my final note, good breathing when you were struggling, like I can't do that. Having us reenact that or having us feel that is really good. And also that moment before the starting gun, you could even make that other self-reflection where you think I'm not prepared. You could have that moment and we could live it inside your head where you go, I'm not prepared for this. Why am I even here? And then the gun goes off and now I'm running, right? You could bring us to that moment where we can see it on your face. Maybe it wasn't that obvious to those around you at the time, but we know it was inside of you, and the rest of us could go, oh, I know what she's thinking right now. And so there's a couple moments where you could really pause and use that reflection. But other than that, the story arc was really good, bringing us out of the end. The lesson was really good. The preparedness was really good. The delivery, especially for where you're at in this stage, is top notch. I mean, this could be something you could continue to prepare for, to talk to people about preparation if you ever given an opportunity when somebody says, Trisha, can you give us a story or a speech about preparation? And you'd be like, of course I can. If I got a story for you. The only thing I'll say at the very end is you could even play with reversing that. Mm-hmm. Reverse the time. Starting bad, ending better, even though you're going back in time. Here's the lesson I learned. And here's what I should have been doing all along. It may work, it may not work, because then you have to change the strategy a little bit. But something a seed to plant to think about anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. No, I hear that. I hear that for sure. And I really appreciate all the tips. And while I was doing it, I could completely hear myself sort of transition and transform what I'm doing, right? And I felt really good while I was going through it. I really loved the positive notes that you put in there. It sort of encouraged me to, be more open to listening to the feedback, right? Of things I needed to change. So I appreciated that very much. We're really happy to have you, David. And I'm sure all of you out there, can take away something from what David shared with us today. But before David goes, if there's any, last minute tips that you would want to just sort of share in general to people who are going to be doing some public speaking at some point, and they're novices, what are some general tips that you can share with them as a way for us to close out our live show today?
Absolutely. I can give you 3 really quick ones. Number 1, you can never have too much exposure to giving speeches. Join a club, practice in front of your stuffed animals or your family or whatever, but speech after speech doesn't have to be the same speech. Practice impromptu speaking. Just practice speaking. It's like riding a bike. The more you do it, the faster you're going to learn how to ride a bike. And so just keep going. Secondly, it's nerve-wracking. It's still nerve-wracking for me to do it, to stand up in front of an audience, and I teach it and I've been around the world. It's still scary. And one of the tricks that you can teach yourself, because the feelings of excitement and the feelings of fear physiologically are very similar. Our heart beats faster. Sometimes there's like blood rushing to our head. Sometimes our breathing gets faster. Control your breathing. It's the one thing we can control. Take deep breaths and tell yourself the story that you're excited, not that you're scared or not that you're nervous. You really have to force yourself to tell that story. I'm excited for this opportunity because your default will be, I'm so scared. What if I do this? What if I do this? What if all these things go wrong? But if you go, no, I'm excited. What I'm feeling is not fear, it's excitement. But here's why. I have a chance to share my knowledge, connect with people, grow as a person, whatever it might be. Tell yourself that story. Write it down. I write it down myself because it can change at every event. So get an opportunity to speak as much as you can. Tell yourself you're excited. And the last one is, there's a quote that says you can never be too prepared. And I say that with a little bit of an asterisk, but Trisha K is at the point where if she had to give a speech tomorrow morning, she could do it. But she would also leave going, man, I wish I had more time to actually go through this. And so you never want to go in your living room, go, yeah, I got it memorized. I can get through this. Because then as soon as you hit the stage or the camera and everything has changed, there's lights, there's people, and suddenly your brain is now absorbing all this new information, it's going to throw you. Just like riding a bike. As soon as the training wheel comes off, or your parent or guardian or older brother or whoever lets go of the bicycle seat, and they're like, steer, and you're like, I can't, right? It takes a while, it takes practice. So keep going through it, even to the point where you're kind of sick of going through it. Go through it while you're doing dishes, go through it while you're walking your dog, whatever. Just kind of keep going through that story to smooth it out in all these different environments. So when you hit the new environment of being on stage, you're ready. Now, you don't want to go through it 3,000 times the exact same way, because then it's just going to be rote, and then you're just going to kind of go through it the way you have always been through it. And that can get old, and you've known speakers that have given the same speech for 20 years, and you can tell. So you want to keep it fresh, but make sure that you can rattle it off at any moment. I always tell my clients, my customers, people I work with, if you can ride a roller coaster and give your speech, like screaming and going, but still go through it fairly smoothly, you're at a point where you feel really good with it, and you can give it in any circumstance and still sound natural. So, and then hopefully it doesn't sound like you're on a roller coaster when you actually give your speech. I'll leave you with those 3.
Wonderful. Thank you, David, so much again for being here with us and for sharing such wonderful tips with our audience. We are so happy that you joined us. And with that, we are going to close out our live for today. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.